Okay, there are two dogs that are barking at me, which is really crazy. Well, the sun and moon are in fire signs today, so that makes a lot of sense because fire has a passion and has a spirit. So let me get in the shade so that I can better see myself. Okay, gorgeous. Alright, so I thought that I would come out here today and just do an update. Since it's the first day of April, and we have several things happening in April. So, on the 3rd of the month, we have Mercury entering Taurus. It will be there for a nice long stay because it's going to be going retrograde starting on April the 21st. And those dogs are really running around. So, on April 3rd, Mercury is going to enter Taurus. A couple days later, on the 5th and 6th, depending upon where you live in the world, we're going to be having a full moon in Libra. And full moons are really exciting, high energy times, and so that's certainly what I'm observing going on in that yard over there, and I'm not afraid to show that. So April 5th and 6th, we have a full moon in Libra, and I had another video, a video that I did about that today. It's up on my YouTube channel, it's on Facebook, it's on Instagram, and that's going to be, where we're balancing the need to be assertive and the need to take the lead, to be independent, with also the need for harmony and balance, and the moon's in Libra, so this deals with, more to the emotional connection because we're talking about a full moon. And the moon's really important because we're really headed towards relationships, and relationships that really and truly serve us. And Libra's about compromise. It wants to share. It wants to collaborate. And it also wants there to be peace in a relationship, not conflict. At best, Libra can seek peace at all costs. At worst, Libra can seek peace at all costs. And so, that's sort of the polarity that we're working with for that full moon. And then fast forward a little bit later to April 10th, April 11th, because it's happening so late in the day on April 10th Central Time, but it's really, April, 11th is the first official day of Venus in Gemini. And Venus is about love. It's about romance. It's about, relationships, but it also deals with what really matters to you, what you're drawn to, and what your pleasure center is, in a way. So Venus in Gemini craves, the need for mental stimulation. There has to be something exciting. There has to be something fun, on the horizon, and something to, vary life, something to, kind of spice it up. And it wants, kind of that intellectual connection and conversation in relationship is really important. So, watching documentaries, books, all those things are huge with Venus and Gemini. So the mind is very important. And then we move right along to, that same day, we have the Sun conjunct Jupiter. That's the time where we're going to put ourselves out there. There's new opportunities. It's very joyful and optimistic energy with that. And then on the 19th and 20th, we have a new moon in Aries. But this new moon is really special. And there's something, because there's two new moons in one astrological season. And so the first new moon on the 21st occurred at the Aries point of 0 degrees of Aries. The sun and moon were conjunct in Aries. Then we're going to have a new moon occur at 29 degrees of Aries, the very last degree, which is super intense. It's the energy is really hot, and there's a lot of Aries energy to go, do something, get something done, take action. All the themes with Aries, and I may, in that video on that particular new moon, because it's so interesting, because it could easily happen at the very beginning of Taurus, but it's not. The sun and moon are conjuncting right at that last degree, and they're going to move together into Taurus on the same day. So depending upon where you live in the world, it'll happen on April 19th, and then other places in the world it'll happen on the 20th. And so I may get into the more shadow qualities of Aries, because that 29 degree tends to bring out the shadow qualities of that, of whatever sign that it's in. Where we can look back at, the past Aries season. And that's going to be a beginning, but it's also going to be an ending, because, we're ending the, season off. Is there anything else I can think about? And, I have to acknowledge, and, I'm aware that this may be controversial, but, with the themes of the new moon happening on that particular day in Aries, the way that it's happening, and also the aspects that are occurring with the sun and moon on that day, and it being the birthday of an absolute evil monster. I'm sure that you know who I'm talking about, Adolf Hitler. And, I don't know. I kind of have the idea of tying, that, aspect, that, him and that whole, some of that history in with that video. For a couple of, different reasons, I don't know. And he was born on the cusp. Pretty sure that he was in Aries, so. But I'm thinking of tying that in, because I think I want to do more than just the astrology, and just give the astrology, maybe tie in some other things, like other subject matters, or pull an oracle card for a full moon or new moon, other things. So I want to try to vary it, because Venus is in Gemini. So we're having that happen, at that time. So it's really interesting to me, that's going on at that time, in conjunction with the fact that, it is the birthday of, that evil dictator. Now, the other thing happening is the day after, on the 21st, we have Mercury going retrograde. So we have this new beginning. We're sort of setting new intentions, because, it is a new moon. But then the next day Mercury goes retrograde, and now it's an invitation for us to go and reflect. Now, I honestly have to say something And you can hear those dogs over there. I honestly have to say something about Mercury retrograde. I am sick and tired of hearing astrologers say negative stuff about Mercury retrograde, because the information has been taken and just spun and fabricated into what the media has said about it. And I really can't see at this point how what an astrologer says about it is going to be any different than what you read in, on the media, saying, oh, don't do this, or don't do that. I mean, even if it comes from an astrologer, I've heard it so much, and I'm really sick of it. And I may become kind of aggravated if something like a misunderstanding, miscommunication, delay, or something does come up during that time. I don't know. I'm just sick of hearing how negative and how of an inconvenience it is. And I'm really tired of that whole fear-based thing about Mercury retrograde and making it a negative thing. And if only it wasn't turned in to be a negative thing, and if only there were more people on board with it not being so negative. It's kind of like somebody were to shout in a crowd of people that, it's not this way and this is actually the truth. Then it's almost like they don't have as much power as the crowd, as the rest of the crowd. Because the rest of the crowd is more dominant, takes up much more room, and that person cannot seem to, I don't know, maybe not, maybe I'm not, correct with that, but, I do wish that all that fear-based, doom and gloom stuff about it would go away, because it's setting up a narrative of people getting aggravated when things do happen and mess with your life, and all this protocol of don't do this, don't sign contracts, don't do all those things. Well, I can't tell you how disempowering that is. Because you cannot let a planetary influence get the better of what you want to do in your own life, and also what you need to do in your own life. Just know, I, and I'm sure a lot of people are turned off by, that whole, don't sign contracts or don't initiate. Well, I mean, it's all an invitation. If there's a true feeling like, maybe I should wait on this, then, trust in your intuition, it's right for you, then, wait on it. If you want to initiate, then, go ahead and, initiate that new thing and see what's going to be happening, especially because you're more sort of attuned inside yourself, and you're going inside of yourself, and you're more self-aware at that time, because the big word for Mercury retrograde is, metacognition, really. So, just sort of see how you go with that whole process of Mercury retrograde, and I'm sure I'm guilty of jumping on that bandwagon based off of some of the videos I've made about it, and I don't want to be. I don't know. You can be more aware or more cautious, more kind of conscientious about Mercury-related matters during that time. But it isn't to say that you can't, don't do it at all. So it is retrograding in Taurus, which means we can slow down, think about what we're, saying. Think about the practical solutions to what we want to achieve. And enjoy sort of the simple pleasures. Look at the, resources that we have available to us, and, slow down and become more present and slow down our thinking, and think about the next right step to achieve whatever we want to, or we can finish those projects that we have, started, in the past, and it's a favorable time for that. Time to look back on the old photo albums, on your life, reflect, reevaluate, basically, and review. It's time where we're digesting, we're processing the information. It's going back over the territory that it went over in shadow. That's going to start around April 6th and 7th of this year. And, so it's happening in Taurus. That's, really it. That's kind of the overview of what's going on astrologically this month, or some of the events going on this month astrologically.